Have you ever stopped to think about the power of an unshakable mind? A mind that in the face of life's storms remains calm like the reflection of a mountain in a still lake. Have you ever wondered why some people, even in the face of adversity, not only overcome challenges but become stronger because of them? There is a profound and universal secret behind this, a code that separates those who rise from those who fall. This secret is the ability to not be affected. But don't be fooled. We are not talking about being insensitive or ignoring difficulties. We are talking about a powerful attitude, an unbreakable mentality that allows you to maintain control, even when the world around you seems to crumble. You don't need to be a flawless hero. You just need to understand that in any circumstance, true strength comes from within. The secret to mastering this art, the secret to achieving the kind of mindset that remains unshaken, lies in learning how to respond, not react. Napoleon Hill understood this. In his works, he made it clear that difficulties are inevitable, but it is our reactions to them that define our future. Success, according to Hill, has never been about avoiding problems, but about learning to stay firm in the face of them. It is this internal resistance, this ability to not be affected, that shapes the true leaders and visionaries of history. Remember, great men and women like Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, and Henry Ford did not become extraordinary because they avoided obstacles, but because they learned to master them, to turn challenges into opportunities. Now imagine that you are facing a critical moment in your life, something that could easily make you give up. The question you must ask yourself is, what do you choose to be in this moment? A spectator of your own life, a reactive person, or do you choose to be the master of your mind, someone who acts with clarity and control? The world will continue to offer difficulties, that is certain. But what you do with them, how you allow them to shape you, that is the true key. Of course, it's not easy. The answer often lies in a continuous process of self-discovery and self-convincing. The resistance to being affected by circumstances is not something that arises from a single decision, but from a constant commitment every day. It's not something you can learn in a single moment of inspiration. It requires a shift in mentality, a pact with yourself to never again be controlled by negative emotions or external circumstances. And it starts with the clear realization that what others think of you is irrelevant. You cannot control what others do, say, or think, but you can control your reaction to all of it. This journey of personal development, of becoming unshakable, starts with the simple act of not reacting immediately. There is power in stepping back, breathing, and consciously choosing the response you will give to a situation. The reactive person lives under the control of others, allowing external factors to decide their emotions. The master of the mind, on the other hand, is the one who creates their own internal conditions, regardless of what is happening around them. They do not let themselves be swayed from their path, no matter what life brings. This is the first step, the foundation of everything. Control your reaction. When you encounter a challenging situation, when someone tries to destabilize you with words or actions, what do? Most people react impulsively, allowing emotions to take over. The true master, however, takes a step back, breathes, and consciously chooses how to respond. This does not mean ignoring feelings, but understanding that they should not govern you. You may feel anger, frustration, or sadness, but these emotions do not need to define your actions. Let's give a simple example. Imagine someone at work criticizes your project or makes a negative comment about something you've done. The instant reaction is often defensive, maybe even aggressive. But what do you do when you choose not to be affected? You choose to observe the criticism, reflect on it rationally, separate the facts from the emotions, and instead of reacting, you decide to use the criticism as fuel to improve. This is power. This is mastery. The next key to mastering the art of not being affected is understanding the power of clarity. When you are clear about who you are, what you want, and what your purpose is, you become immune to distractions and external judgment. Most human suffering comes from a lack of clarity. People who feel lost, who react impulsively, often do not have a clear vision of their own life. They do not know where they are going or why they are doing what they are doing. You need to constantly ask yourself, what is my greater goal? If you don't have a clear answer to this question, if you don't know exactly what you're seeking and why, it's easy to be influenced by external circumstances. But when your vision is clear, when your mission is defined, criticism, obstacles, and difficulties no longer have the power to shake you. They become just part of the process. Now, here is the most powerful point of all. Not being affected is ultimately a matter of purpose and action. When you have a clear vision and purpose, you move with confidence. Action, when taken with firmness and certainty, eliminates doubt. When you act in a disciplined way, when your mind is aligned with your actions, you have no time to worry about distractions, criticism, or what others think. You are so focused on what you are doing that obstacles become mere steps on the path to success. Napoleon Hill said, "What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And to believe, it is necessary to act." The mind cannot believe in something that is not being fed with real actions. And it is through these actions that you transform. Throughout history, how many men and women have not found their true power when they began to act with clarity and purpose? Thomas Edison, for example, failed more than 1,000 times when inventing the light bulb. But his vision was clear, his action relentless. Every failure didn't stop him. He did not let frustration affect him. He used every mistake as a step toward his vision of lighting the world. Every moment of challenge was an opportunity for him to rise stronger, more determined. At some point you must choose. Will you live a reactive life, being pushed back and forth by circumstances and the opinions of others? Or will you choose to live a life where the control is in your hands, a life where you are not affected by uncertainties, criticisms, or adversities, but use all of this as fuel to achieve your greatest version? True power lies not in avoiding challenges, but in mastering them. Do not let yourself be affected by the storms of life. Be your own lighthouse. The power of not being affected is something that is built over time, but more importantly, it is something that is strengthened in the darkest hours. Often it is when life tries to knock us down that our true strength is revealed. The problem is not in the difficulties, but in our willingness to be shaped by them. When you can stay calm in the face of chaos, when you choose with courage to remain firm while the winds of adversity try to push you back, that is when you reach a level of power that few attain. But like everything in life, constant practice is key. It's not about achieving this mastery all at once, but about training it day by day. Discipline, the commitment to your own peace of mind, is what makes the difference. This involves developing a set of internal skills that allow you to resist external pressures without losing yourself in them. It's not about denying feelings, but about not letting them control you. It's a daily practice of self-overcoming, understanding that your inner peace is more important than any circumstance or external opinion. The act of not being affected also requires a deep understanding of where you place your energy. Most people waste time and effort trying to please others, trying to fit into others' expectations, or worrying about what others think of them. But imagine the power of directing your energy toward what truly matters: your own goals, your personal growth, your true passions. When you dedicate yourself fully to what is important to you, to what resonates with your soul, the opinions of others lose their power. You are no longer trapped in the need for external validation. Your worth comes from within, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can take that away from you. Clarity is essential. If you don't know exactly what you want, what you're seeking, or what's most important to you, it's easy to be swayed, affected by others' opinions and by the unexpected changes around you. Life will present an array of distractions. The world is full of voices, some good, others not so good, that will try to pull you off your path. But if your vision is clear, if you know where you're going and why you're going, you will be immune to those distractions. The secret to not being affected lies in keeping the focus, in refining your vision and your mission until nothing else has the power to sway you. By keeping your vision clear and your energy directed toward what truly matters, you become unbeatable. Nothing can take you off your path. No matter how strong the criticisms are, no matter how hard the obstacles may seem to overcome, your mind will be like an impenetrable fortress, your determination unshakable. Action is key. When you act with clarity and purpose, you become invincible. No matter how big the difficulties, the continuous movement toward your goals is what builds the confidence and resilience you need. True action is that which comes from certainty, the conviction that no matter the challenges, you will keep moving forward. When you act, fear disappears. When you act, the control is no longer with circumstances or others, it's with you. Action is not just a response to something that happened, it is a declaration of your power. Every time you act with purpose, you are loudly and clearly affirming that nothing has the power to interrupt your path. You choose how to respond to each challenge. You decide what the next step will be, what the next move will be. Every action you take strengthens your resilience, solidifies your vision, and fortifies your mind. There is nothing more powerful than this. Now, you must ask yourself, how can I apply all of this to my life? How can you start practicing the art of not being affected? The answer begins with accepting that difficulties are inevitable. They will always be there along your journey. But instead of fearing them, you must learn to use them as fuel. What others say, what others do, the difficulties that arise, all of this is just part of the process. They do not have the power to change your destiny. Only you have that power. It's important to understand that not being affected doesn't mean you won't feel pain, frustration, or sadness. Life is full of ups and downs, and emotion is part of the human experience. But the difference lies in how you deal with those emotions, the way you choose to be affected. You may feel sadness, but you don't need to let it determine your actions. You may feel anger, but you don't need to let it control your decisions. You may even feel fear, but you don't need to let fear paralyze you. True freedom comes when you learn to recognize your emotions, but not let them control you. Now let's think about the power of gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful force that can transform you. It not only helps restore focus and clarity, but also allows you to stay centered in moments of difficulty. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the secret to not being affected. When you choose to be grateful, even for adversities, you are telling the universe that you are immune to what is negative. Gratitude puts your mind in a state of abundance, not scarcity. It reminds you that, even in moments of difficulty, there is always something to be grateful for. When you learn to be grateful for every challenge, each obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth. Every mistake becomes a lesson, every failure a chance to start over. This doesn't mean you should ignore the difficulties, but rather, instead of fighting against them, you embrace them as part of your evolutionary process. And that in itself has the power to transform you. Finally, resilience is the quality that will help you remain unshaken. Resilience doesn't mean not feeling, not crying, or not having difficulties. It means knowing that, even in the toughest moments, you can always rise again. Resilience is the ability to learn from pain, to grow with adversity. When you become resilient, you don't just overcome obstacles, you use them to become stronger. You learn to shape difficulties into something that propels you forward. Remember, the real secret to not being affected is mastering your mind. When you master your mind, there is nothing that can make you falter. And you can only master your mind when you have clarity, when you act with purpose, when you keep gratitude in your heart and resilience in your soul. Every step you take toward imperturbability is a step toward your true power. No matter what life brings, what matters is what you do with it. And if you learn to not be affected, the world will be yours. You will be unbeatable. When you start to understand this truth, you begin to realize that the circumstances of life do not define who you are. It is not the external situations that determine your destiny, but how you choose to react to them. The reaction is where the power lies. Life, with its constant challenges, tries to test you at every step. But when you refuse to be shaped by the storms, when you resist the external pressure, you become the architect of your own destiny. This power of not being affected is a skill that cannot be underestimated. Many people spend their entire lives trying to control what is beyond their reach. They try to change the people around them, hoping the world will adjust to their expectations, and this ultimately leads to frustration. But what if the secret was not in controlling what's around you, but in controlling what's inside of you? What if you could be immune to any word, any situation, or any judgment, simply because you've already internalized your own strength? Here lies the crucial point. You have the choice to be affected or not, and that choice is yours all the time. Every moment of your life is an opportunity to decide how much you will allow circumstances to shape who you are. This control, this autonomy over your emotions, over how you feel about any situation, is what separates the successful from those who fall behind. Most people react to the world, responding to negativity, fear, and despair. They let circumstances define their emotions and, as a result, their actions. But you, by learning not to be affected, respond to the world in a different way. You create your own destiny, your own peace, regardless of what happens around you. Think of the greatest names in history, those who changed the world with their ideas, with their actions. Men like Thomas Edison, who faced countless failures, who was ridiculed for his innovations, but never let that affect his vision. Or Walt Disney, who was fired from a newspaper for lack of imagination, but stayed true to his dream. Or even Abraham Lincoln, who faced a civil war, numerous defeats and personal challenges, but never let external circumstances take away the strength to keep moving forward. These men were not invulnerable, but they had one thing in common. They didn't let anything affect them. They understood that adversity was simply the price to be paid for success. The truth is, you can be like that too. You don't need to wait for moments of great success to start building this mindset. You can start right now with what you have where you are. The journey begins with the decision not to be affected, and that decision, though simple, is powerful. Every time you choose to remain calm, you strengthen your control over your life. Every time you don't allow a mistake, a criticism, or a failure to define your trajectory, you get closer to the person you are destined to become. Now, as you follow this journey, remember that it's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's not about never making mistakes or never feeling frustration. It's about having the ability to get back up every time you fall, to look at obstacles and, instead of being knocked down by them, use them to propel your own rise. This is resilience. This is power. Always remember that, in order to not be affected, you need to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and acceptance. Gratitude is not just a technique, but a mindset that allows you to see the positive side even in adversity. When you feel grateful for everything you have, even in difficult times, you change your perception of reality. You begin to understand that everything that happens in your life has a purpose, whether it's clear or not at the moment. When you adopt this perspective, adversity stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn. Every criticism is a chance for self-discovery. Every failure is simply a springboard to success. However, it's not enough just to have gratitude. The true art of not being affected lies in acting with purpose, without letting the events around you determine the pace of your life. Act with clarity, with direction, with absolute focus on what you want to achieve. This is the path to true freedom. When you act with purpose, it doesn't matter what happens around you. You already have a north, a clear vision, and nothing can divert you from your destiny. So ask yourself now, how can you start applying the art of not being affected in your daily life? The answer lies in every choice you make. Every moment of your life is a chance to practice calm in the face of adversity. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your mind and spirit. By doing so, you will become stronger, more confident, and more in control than ever before. The path to not being affected begins now, and every step you take, you become more unbeatable. No matter what life brings, you are already prepared. With courage, clarity, and discipline, you will be able to face any challenge without being moved by it. You are unshakable, and over time, the world will notice that. And so, as you move forward on this journey, you begin to realize that true strength does not come from avoiding obstacles, but from learning how to navigate through them with an unbreakable mindset. Life will never be a straight path. It will be full of curves, mountains to climb, and dark valleys. But true wisdom is not in seeking the absence of difficulties, but in how you face them. What is greatness, if not the ability to remain firm in the eye of the storm? The difference between those who reach their full potential and those who fall by the wayside is not the absence of difficulties, but the ability to remain focused. The greatest leaders in history, the great inventors, the most successful entrepreneurs, and the record-breaking athletes All of them faced moments of doubt, failure, and adversity. Yet, what set them apart from others was one common characteristic. They didn't let themselves be affected. Thomas Edison, in his tireless pursuit of the electric light bulb, failed over 1,000 times, but he didn't let it affect him. He saw each failure not as a setback, but as one step closer to the solution. Henry Ford, who revolutionized the automobile industry, was ridiculed and faced multiple bankruptcies before building the empire we know today, but he didn't let it affect him. He turned rejection into fuel for his vision. Steve Jobs, being ousted from the very company he founded, could have succumbed to resentment and anger. Instead, he used the pain as a force to create one of the greatest technological legacies in history. They understood that, by not letting themselves be affected, they became immune to the limitations of the world. This mentality is the key to success. When you adopt the view that no external circumstances can dictate who you are or what you can achieve, you become truly free. Freedom lies in knowing that you have full control over your response, your actions, your destiny. It doesn't matter what others think of you. It doesn't matter what life throws your way. The true strength is within you. Now pause for a moment and reflect on the greatest challenges you've faced in your life. How did you react to them? Did you let yourself be affected, allowing fear or insecurity to guide your choices? Or did you use those difficulties to strengthen your conviction, to refine your vision, and to propel your journey forward? If you didn't let yourself be affected, then you are already on the right path. Understand that the process of not letting yourself be affected is not a one-time event. It's not something you achieve once and then never have to worry about again. It's a daily commitment, a constant practice. Every moment is an opportunity to reaffirm your inner strength. Every choice you make is a chance to show that nothing in the world can shake you. It may seem simple, but this discipline is what separates the great from the mediocre. The great leader, the great innovator, the great winner, all of them share this ability. They know that adversity is inevitable. What matters, however, is how they choose to respond to it, and they choose to respond with calm, with clarity, with focus on what truly matters. And you, how will you respond? Will you allow the storms of life to knock you off balance? Or will you remain firm, with your feet planted on the ground of your conviction and vision? The choice is in your hands. You have the power to decide at every moment, every day, every challenge. You have the ability to turn adversity into your ally, to use the pressure as a springboard for greatness. The art of not letting yourself be affected is, above all, a mindset of self-empowerment. It requires you to be the captain of your ship, to steer your life with purpose regardless of the waves that rise around you. You are not at the mercy of the wind. You are not at the mercy of the currents. You are the captain, and you decide where you go. Now imagine for a moment the freedom you would gain if you lived every day without being affected. Imagine the peace you would experience if you distanced yourself from what others think of you, if you freed yourself from the pressure of others' expectations. Imagine the power you would have by following your own voice, no matter what obstacles arise. You already have this strength. It is within you, waiting to be unleashed. Therefore, be the master of your mind, the master of your emotions, and as a result, the master of your life. When you become immune to external attacks, to other people's judgments, to mistakes and failures, you place yourself in a unique position. You are capable of creating a life of impact, a life in which you are the protagonist, not a spectator. Remember, inner peace does not come from avoiding life's challenges, but from knowing that no matter what happens, you have control over your emotions, your actions, and your response to the world. And that is something no one can take away from you. True freedom is the ability to not be affected, and when you master this art, you will master your own life. So what will you choose? Will you become immune to circumstances, unbeatable in the face of obstacles, indestructible in your journey? Or will you allow the winds of life to knock you down? The path lies before you, as clear as day, and the decision, once again, is yours.